All right, let's grab some food and dive back in. Welcome back. Today we're looking at a piece of the software update we've been talking about. We're diving into a section of Emily Nagoski's Come As You Are that deals with the internal glitches, the way self-criticism isn't just a bad habit, but a literal physiological threat.
And it's so heavy, guys. I was reading this part and I kept thinking about how much energy we spend just trying to fix ourselves when the fix is actually the problem.
It's like trying to patch a program by adding more lines of broken code.
Or like my current situation with my ankle. I'm criticizing my lack of grace, which is just adding more inflammation to the injury.
But that's exactly where Nagoski starts. She says, when you get right down to it, self-criticism is yet another form of stress. She takes that evolutionary mechanism we discussed earlier, the I'm at risk response, and applies it to the internal monologue.
Right. She says when you think I am an inadequate person, your body reacts as if you're literally being hunted. Like, I am the lion.
Wait, that's wild. So the brain doesn't distinguish between a predator in the bushes and a nasty thought in your head?
Exactly. Your hormone levels spike. The threat is internal, but the biological response is identical. It's a physiological attack.
Which explains why I can't just think my way out of a bad mood. My body has already declared war on itself.
But look at what she says about the reaction to this. She says women have this two-layered response. We love the idea of being kind to ourselves, but then there's this secondary layer, this fear.
The fear that if we stop the whip, we'll just stop moving?
Precisely. She captures this perfectly. She says we believe that if we stop beating ourselves up, we're admitting we'll never be perfect. That the self-criticism is the only thing keeping hope alive.
It's a hostage situation. I have to torture myself to stay motivated. It sounds so much like a running strategy until you actually look at the mechanics.
She calls it an invasive weed in the garden. We've been taught to treat the thing that's strangling our sexuality like it's a treasured flower.
That hit hard. A treasured flower that's actually killing the rest of the garden.
And she offers a way out that's almost deceptively simple. You don't fight the weed, you just notice it. When the I suck thought pops up, don't attack it, because attacking it is just more criticism. Just notice it's a weed, and then plant a seed.
Plant the thought, I'm okay, or I am safe.
It's such a shift from the fix-it mentality. It's more about reclamation, like her friend Ruth. She didn't find some magical new way to be sexy. She just decided the old way, the shame, was all bullshit.
I love that. It's all bullshit. That's a powerful ritual right there.
But then, she takes it even further. She moves from the psychological to the physical, specifically the weight. She says, weight is just one of several things people criticize themselves for, and it's certainly among the most dangerous and needless.
And here comes the heavy lifting, the myth-busting.
She goes straight for the jugular. Weight alone tells us almost nothing about health.
Okay, but then she goes into this ridiculous, almost absurd logic to prove it. She says, want to lose 10 pounds without diet or exercise? Cut off your leg at the knee.
It's brilliant. She's using that same absurd energy we love. She says if you want to lose 5 pounds of fat, just remove your brain, because the brain is almost entirely fat.
It's a gotcha moment. She's pointing out how stupid the logic of the scale as health metric actually is. If the metric can be changed by removing a limb, the metric is broken.
It's like a bad piece of software. If the only way to get the ideal result is to delete the core operating system, the software is useless.
Exactly. And she brings in this real-world evidence story about a cardiologist, a doctor date no less. He basically confirms that being slightly underweight can actually carry greater risk than being obese.
Which is so terrifying to hear, because it goes against everything the media message has been screaming at us for decades.
And she ties it back to the person, not the number. She tells the story of Kelly, who lost massive amounts of weight through surgery, only to find that the depression and self-hate just followed her.
Because the hardware changed, but the software, the self-hate, was still running the same program.
It's not about weight or size. It's about living joyfully inside your body, as it is today.
It sounds so simple, doesn't it? Accept your size, trust yourself, adopt healthy habits. But then she ends on this really honest, heavy note. She admits that intellectual awareness isn't enough. You can't just know the shame is fake and expect it to vanish.
Because the shame is deeply embedded. It's more than a surface wound. It's deep tissue.
Right. We've been absorbing these messages since we were toddlers. The software update is running, but the old corrupted files, they're still there lurking in the background.
Well, I guess we'll just have to keep downloading the new version, one noticing at a time.
We're moving from the how of self-criticism to the why of something even more visceral. Nagoski is moving into a new territory here, the anatomy of disgust.
And she starts with this image of a basket of colorful lube packets, like little candies or lip gloss.
I mean, if they're colorful enough, I'd probably poke my finger in there too.
Right, but she notes a split reaction. Half the students are like, cool, and the other half, well, they react like she just offered them a basket of boogers.
Boogers. That is a very specific kind of yuck.
But she uses that to pivot to the real problem. She says, what happens when that same sexual disgust is activated by one's own body?
This is the part that always gets me. She tells the story of a student who's terrified because her partner wants to give her oral sex. And the student isn't worried about the partner, she's worried about herself. She's asking, isn't it dirty down there? The hair, the mucus?
Oof. I can feel the tension in that sentence. The mucus.
It's like she's describing a biological hazard zone instead of a human body.
And Nagoski says you can't just counter that with, no, it's beautiful, because there's this huge resistant knot of beliefs that won't budge. So she brings in the heavy machinery, moral foundations theory.
She calls it her science knife. I love that. She's using Jonathan Haidt's word to slice through the knot.
Specifically, she points to the sanctity degradation foundation. She explains that sanctity is basically an evolutionary mechanism for avoiding contaminants. We're wired to stay away from rotting corpses.
Yeah, that's the disgust reflex. It's a survival feature.
But here's the kicker. We've taken that physical avoidance and turned it into a vertical axis. We label some things as high and pure, and others as low and dirty.
And she points out how much this is tied to certain ethics, specifically the Judeo-existing idea that the spirit is high and the body is low, or that reason is high and animal instinct is low.
And, as she says, very often women are low and men are high.
It's a classic setup. If sex is downward toward the animal, it's automatically degrading.
Exactly. And if you categorize a part of your body as low, you aren't hitting the accelerator, you're hitting the brakes.
She says it so clearly. Disgust hits the brakes. It slows your heart rate, stops your gut, and closes your throat. It's a physiological freeze.
Wait, so it's not a feeling, it's literally a physical shutdown. Your body is physically closing itself off.
It's a parasympathetic freeze response. It's the opposite of the fight or flight we talked about earlier. It's not an attack, it's a withdrawal.
Which explains why you can't just will yourself to be roused if you're feeling disgusted. You're literally paralyzed.
And she brings in this heartbreaking story of Merritt. She was talking to her daughter about sex, and she just couldn't. She couldn't bring herself to talk about pleasure.
Because for her, pleasure was linked to something dirty.
Right. Because her upbringing taught her that sex outside marriage was hell. Her parents couldn't even look at her partner Carol in the eye at Christmas.
That is heavy. That's a fundamental fracture in how she views her own existence.
And it's so much more than just one person. She's talking about a generational cycle. The software is being passed down, and the bug is the shame.
But then, she hits us with this fascinating way that we actually learn this. She uses a thought experiment with two twins, Jessica and Teresa.
Okay, I'm ready for the twins. Are they going to be doing something scandalous?
Well, she says imagine they're 5 or 6, and they have a habit of, well, exploring themselves during nap time.
Oh boy. Here we go into the deep end.
But the point isn't the act itself, it's the reaction. She says if you see an adult looking at a child with an expression of disgust, that is how the child learns what is gross.
It's social contagion. We aren't born disgusted by our own bodies, we are taught to be.
So the yuck is a learned language.
Exactly. The software update isn't just about changing your own thoughts. It's about unlearning the entire vocabulary of disgust we've been handed since we were toddlers. So, we were talking about that socially learned disgust. And Nagoski brings it right down to earth with this scenario. 2 kids, Jessica and Teresa. Both are exploring their bodies during nap time.
Okay, even just hearing the setup makes me feel like I'm intruding on a private moment.
Right, but look at the divergence. For Jessica, her caregiver walks in, and this is the key: the parent recoils in an involuntary disgust response. They say, stop that.
The recoil. That's the hit. That's the moment the brakes get installed.
And for Teresa, the parent just says they're leaving for the aunt's house in a few minutes and tells her to put her shoes on.
That is such a massive difference in vibe. One is a command to stop a sin, and the other is just a transition in the enough.
And Nagoski says Jessica's brain now associates that sexual arousal, the accelerator, with the shame and distress of being scolded. The brakes in the accelerator are now wired to the same circuit.
So, if you do that enough,
you get the tangled knot. She says if 20 years pass and these patterns are reinforced, Jessica's brain has learned to associate arousal with stress, shame, and even physical pain.
whereas Teresa's brain just learned pleasure, confidence, and joy.
It's like one kid is running a high-performance engine, and the other is running an engine that's constantly slamming on the emergency brake every time they hit second gear.
But she says one incident might not be enough if it's not reinforced. It's the consistent reinforcement from a sex-negative culture that really embeds it.
And she gives this amazing example of a badass Southern grandma. This woman was a sex educator, and she remembered being a teenager, sitting on a porch making out with her boyfriend.
Let me guess. She went inside and...
Her mother came up with disgust in every line of her face and said, "What you were just doing out of there, that's sex."
Oh man, the disgust in every line. That is a heavy way to label a human connection.
And the grandma says it took her a long time to realize why she felt nauseated, anxious about sex with her husband. She wasn't just nervous. She was literally nauseated.
Because the software told her the act itself was degrading.
But then she says something beautiful. This grandma now tells her students at church, "I like sex. I want everyone to know that it's okay."
I love that. Total reclamation.
It really ties back to what we said about the rule for sex educators. Don't yuck anybody's yum.
Exactly. Nagoski says the training for educators is actually quite intense. They use intensive exposure to minimize their own judgment. They even use a range of porn that would surprise most people, just to reach a state of open neutrality.
I can only imagine. Talk about a heavy training module.
But for the rest of us, she says we don't need a seminar. We just need to recognize where that learned disgust is interfering. She tells us to try on the possibility that the smells, the fluids, the stickiness, these are all glorious and beautiful parts of being human.
The stickiness of your own sexual organism. That's a lot to wrap your head around if you've been trained to think it's yucky.
But she's right. She says the research shows disgust is specifically linked to sexual pain disorders. It's literally making people physically hurt.
So, she moves into the how, the practical strategies, and she starts with the big one, self-compassion.
Which, as we discussed earlier, is the antidote to the internal lion.
Right. She brings in Kristen Ness's work. There are 3 pillars: self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness.
I like the common humanity bit. It's like, hey, I'm not the only one feeling like a broken piece of code.
Exactly. It's the opposite of isolation. And then there's mindfulness, being present and non-judgmental about what's happening.
Instead of over-identifying with the failure, you just observe it.
She ends this section with this image that I think hits everyone in the room. She says she likes to visualize the lion of body self-criticism as a sweet little kitten that has been treated badly and just needs affection.
That's a much better mental image than the one I have, which is just a heavy weight on my chest.
But she says, whatever works. Some people see it as an enemy to be conquered. The goal is the same, to let your body know that the threat is over. To say, I am safe, I am whole, I am home.
Man, my brain is actually buzzing from all that. I need a second to just breathe.
Let's take 5. My tea is getting cold anyway.